And just that, ladies and gentlemen, we are back into the picks and bans. Definitely very interesting picks, as we definitely were not expecting the Rengar in particular coming out for Wheezy. But either way, it paid dividends so incredibly hard. Certainly maybe not the time he popped the Rift Herald behind the enemy T1 while attempting to dive. But either way, did eventually come out on top. And I think a large portion of that was the composition from Ottawa, especially with something like the Zoe in the mid lane. It never really solidified the rest of the comp. If that was maybe a bit more of a team fight focused mid laner, either the Ryze, the Cassiopeia, even an Ahri, you're able to start scaling that game out, use your additional pushing ability to really bring this game out to a point where you just win team fights straight up. But fortunately, with only Psychonics on the Ashe as the true scaling threat, it didn't matter how many times Maryland went for a play and missed completely, because either way, all it takes is one more good play from Maryland to really put them over the top. And now we will have to see what each of these sides are going to be going with in this game number 2. So far, bans going down once again onto the Olaf and the Rengar, plus the Kha'Zix. So still leaving the Rengar of Wheezy up and available if he wants to go with it in the end. Being banned out. Still sticking to the meta. Nothing too crazy coming out here. And I still want to see if one of these teams are going to be able to pick up the Caitlyn plus Morgana lane. Of course, going to be answered immediately with the hot no, not happening. Certainly the side of Maryland not going to be too comfortable picking away that in. This could be an incredibly aggressive first rotation pick here. Certainly Kai'Sa, something that's been on top of the meta at the moment. Anyone who's played solo queue knows what happens when you give this champion just a little bit too much leeway in the early game. But no, trying to look at me going up against the side of Maryland, going over to Harry Sixpack. Had a pretty solid early game with the Olaf, but was never able to convert it into anything towards the mid to late game. They never got enough gold onto Psychonic or onto Open Backpack to really carry through the rest of the match. And even so, Maryland on top of the game basically from that point forward. A lot of ADC still on the board, but it's going to be the Xayah picked up already. Rakan is still on the board and has received some buffs across the board as well, not only to his AP scaling, but also to his play with those who aren't named Xayah. So certainly still a very attractive pick if University of Ottawa do want to go for it. But Xayah, great thing with Xayah is that you basically have a very safe laning phase. Morgana going to be picked up as well. You have a very safe laning phase. Your ultimate, the Feather Storm, very good for being able to get out of a lot of those hard engaged fights, while also providing a lot of CC, a lot of combo ability, especially on top of Morgana. But then, most importantly, you have a pretty early spike for being a critting ADC. The nice thing is once you get the Essence Reaver plus one Zeal item, usually either the Static Shiv or the... You can even go Phantom Dancer if you wanted, but Static Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon, or Phantom Dancer. You're basically already at a huge teamfight spike just with your W. Gives you the bonus attack speed to really benefit from that extra crit. So, looking to bring that one up. But Cassiopeia already picked now in the mid lane. Starting to show a very early mid laner. And this is something that we'll have to keep an eye on, as Cassiopeia is so good against the new school-esque big tanks in the mid lane. Certainly can still get shut down by a good pushing champion. Either the basically TLDR, she can get very hard shut down if you get a Banner of Command champion in the mid lane, or someone named Ryze. So wouldn't exactly expect Maryland to go with the Ryze here, but Zach is the last pick. It does solidify both the bottom lane and jungle once more from Maryland, leaving up these duo lanes, and solo lanes rather, for their picks. Braum being picked away at the last moment. Still leaves Kai'Sa on the board from Ottawa. They showed it very early with the hover pick, but immediately Maryland's just going to ban that one away. And you got to expect Ottawa to know that that was going to happen. When you show the champion that early on into the matchup, it's almost like Ottawa might actually be trying to bait out another ban. It's like they were never actually intending to pick the Kai'Sa either way. But mind games or not, they are still going to be going through these bans with quite a bit of veracity. Ryze being banned away from Ottawa really doesn't make sense to me, because the Cassiopeia is basically the direct counter to Ryze. Not only that, but Ryze has also been nerfed as of late, where his E now costs a lot more in the early game, takes away from a lot. It takes away very much so from his early game pushing ability. And maybe just a completely wasted ban unless they were afraid of it going somewhere to like top lane or maybe Cassiopeia, even if they wanted to throw that at top lane, if they wanted another champion in the mid lane. But either way, they will be throwing a ban that way. Azul is the last ban away from Maryland. Does still leave quite a few picks up, especially the Tristana and the Varus. Varus, we just saw Columbia College use, at least in game number 1, to very effectively pounce on a weakened University of Illinois opponent and put the other Big Ten team here out of their misery. But Maryland's still looking to be the one winning Big Ten team coming out of the back end of today. We're going to be very happy to pull out the W here, as they will have to show now one of their solo lanes in the Azir. All right. This is certainly a big we have not seen in quite some time, but still, when you're looking for a late game mid lane carry, Cassiopeia is pretty darn good, but nobody beats Azir when it's in the hands of a skilled player. And I have to say, looking at the Maryland squad, I feel like White maybe just has it in him. Definitely need a little bit of help to get through that early game, as his early game poke potential with the Q cooldown increase and the W early game damage decrease hurts him quite a bit. And Cassiopeia is one of those mid laners where you want to look for the quick drawn out trades. Can easily at level 2 use QE and out damage Azir quite heavily with the Twin Fangs, but certainly looking for that late game scaling. Azir's going to be a very solid late game team fighter for Maryland, just looking to drag this game out a little bit longer than they were in match number 1. With only the top laner left to go for Maryland, the Malphite being picked up is basically a direct counter to most of the hard engage snowballing top laners that you can possibly go with. And it's basically a direct counter to the Camille. It's a very good counter to something like the new Aurelia, and even does pretty well against something like the Gnar or the Fiora for those respects, just because you're able to shut down things so early on into the matchup. And I mean, when you're speaking of counters, this is actually a very hard one if it does end up going into the top lane. Tahm Kench versus Malphite. You have seen it all here, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've heard rumors of this one on a few different servers, but the great thing with Malphite is you just have so much armor in the early game. You can poke back and forth with those sort of early game type champions. And now, alright, wait. We do still have time where another trade can happen. Do they actually put White on the top? Okay, thank you very much. No, Yang is going to have the Tahm Kench in the top lane. This should be very interesting, because the Tahm Kench operates on sustainability, so Malphite's not really going to be able to effectively poke him out. But then in a gank with Zac plus Tahm Kench, Malphite loves to build very tanky to later on in the game. But Tahm Kench benefits from that because he very easily does max HP damage and trades back and forth with the Malphite. Surely you do have to still be aware of the recent Tahm Kench nerfs, basically onto the Grey Health, so he's not going to have as much sustainability in the lane. And I mean, when you're talking about mobility on a champion, Tahm Kench doesn't have that, so a Trundle plus Malphite gank should be quite productive in that lane. But that does add another threat now on the top side, and even on top of that, taking the teleport from Yang, not only is he going to be able to use that to get into lane or to a teamfight wherever he needs to, but he also has the Abyssal Voyage acting as basically a second teleport on this map. Maryland is trying to show a little bit more ability to play throughout this map, and that's going to be so crucially important when you're trying to scale this Azir into the late game and even trying to hold over to let Xayah hit that 2-item mark. While there certainly are quite a few interesting things coming through on the Maryland squad, obviously Wezzy last game showing us exactly how Rengar is meant to be played, and now this game Yang showing us that his top lane pool knows no bounds. It is more like a top lane ocean at this point. University of Ottawa still have a fairly concisely put together team composition. Malphite plus Trundle for the hard engage, Cassiopeia and Tristana looking for that mid to late game team fights, and University of Ottawa is basically the team that's looking for the 45 to 50 minute mark. Cassiopeia multiple items, Tristana on 3+ items. And theoretically, when you put together Cassiopeia plus Tristana versus Azir plus Xayah, if this was a perfectly mirrored world, you would give the slight advantage over to University of Ottawa just because Tristana out damages Xayah very considerably in the late game. But what Maryland does bring to the table is a little bit earlier spiking with the Xayah in the 2 items as opposed to the 3.5 with Tristana. And then the playmaking potential in both the Xayah lockdown plus the Azir Shurima shuffle. I mean, there's one thing we've seen Azirs do in this tournament. It is make fights work on their own. And even on top of that, the additional X factors having the Zac plus the Tahm Kench might just be enough to buy them out. But one thing we can say for certain in this game, it is going to be a very bloody team fight fest. As no real split pushing threats exist. TP's only on Malphite plus Tahm Kench. We're going to get back to roots here with exactly how League of Legends is perfectly meant to be played, and should be a very interesting series to watch. And basically the team that comes out of this with the better team fight mechanical execution should be walking away from this one with the victory. And not too much I can say outside of that at all, but what I can say is a huge shout out to our sponsors over at Juice Batteries. If you ever have run into the issue where you're playing a game, got some peripherals, and all of a sudden, bang, those RGBs go out, well, have no fear. Juice Batteries, they got your back for all your lights, all your whatnots, and all your doodads. They're going to be powered for quite a long time with Juice Batteries lasting so much longer than the competition. We definitely can't be beat at all. It's also got a 6 times longer charge, so your lights keep flickering for about 6 times as long as well. But either way, Juice Battery, they're going to have you covered. And if you want to be covered for all the matches you do not have time to see, maybe you missed the match earlier today where Columbia College absolutely thrashes Illinois in a 2-0 victory, or any other matches happening on our Twitch page, whether it be any esport, any show, whatever you're missing, make sure to hit up our YouTube page where you can find full VODs of absolutely everything you have ever missed on this channel. But as we say that, we are getting ready now for game number 2 of University of Ottawa now on the blue side versus Maryland on the red. Maryland, they just need one more victory here to put them through potentially all the way to the Riot Finals, or at the very least, putting themselves in a very spectacular spot to be walking away with this one, as we are just about ready. Champions, unfortunately, not quite yet loaded onto the Rift, but just a moment more. We should be all set to go here once again for game number 2. Ottawa versus Maryland, Big Ten versus the South. Make sure you guys just show off your regional pride and who you think is going to be walking away with this victory. As finally we do get now in onto the Rift. So far, nothing absolutely nutty coming out just yet. Looking at the builds, biggest thing would have to be the mini dematerializer still being taken by Braum here for Digital Lotus. We have seen a lot of those tank supports, especially a few patches ago, when Banner plus Baroned up minions are basically the end of the game for whichever side gets them. Having the extra mini dematerializers on your support not only gives you the chance to push out that bottom lane as a support by just taking the cannon minions off the map, but also giving the potential for negating out some of these early banner minions coming through the game. Should be fairly interesting to watch, especially in a lane where basically anything plus Morgana wins out in the early game. So Quirkin already for Maryland should have the early game pushing advantage, but all that aside, all eyes have to be focused on the mid lane. White versus Open Backpack. Certainly Open Backpack on the Cassiopeia should have the early game advantage just with the dueling potential, but you know, with so much raw power, so much scaling power isolated in this mid lane, I would not be shocked to see Wheezy and Hey Six Pack frequent this lane repeatedly throughout the match. And now starting up this game as well. Also note, for the second time in a row now, the ADC on the blue side has taken up that Doran shield. Last game we saw was the Caitlyn coming up already, who was sitting pretty far back, didn't want to get poked out too hard, but now in the lane versus Morgana themselves. University of Ottawa's bot laner in Psychonic will be taking the extra sustain ability in lane as well. And I mean, with the Braum, sure, you're going to be pretty well safe, but you still got to be incredibly careful coming off of some of these waves. And it does look like Quirk has actually elected to scale up the Q first. So there are two schools of thoughts when you're looking at the early game on Morgana, and that is mainly you can either max the Q in the early game, look for the big high impact bindings, make sure they do even more damage a little bit longer, or you can max the W and just get the extra shoving potential, the extra procs for your basically everything on the Spell Thieves. Bounding does land in the bottom lane as Quirk. Able to get quite a bit of damage, but of course, the most interesting lane of them all, the top lane, will definitely be keeping a very close eye on how the Rock versus Catfish matchup does in fact go. Personally, I've got my money on the Catfish, but hell, he could go either way, as those rocks do get pretty pointy up there on the top side. Now pushing advantage. Still going in favor for Maryland in the bottom portion of the map, but not quite able to go so far. Harry Sixpack unable to interrupt the jump away from Wheezy, so not going to be a complete rerun of game number 1, where some chaotic early game fighting does lead to a 2-for-1 early game advantage in favor for Maryland. Wheezy, though, can actually trade the favor, so right now you have Harry Sixpack going throughout that bot side jungle. Absolutely nothing left up there, but now open backpack going to be poked out quite effectively. Wheezy, though, he's on the flank, has to blow the heal, gets pushed back with the grasping strike, but not too much more is going to come on out. Harry Sixpack going to be looking on the Wheezy. Flash goes out once more, but looks like right now it is in fact just going to be a trade of summoner spells. Open backpack absolutely with nothing left, whereas on the side of Maryland, both Wheezy and White lose 1 summoner spell apiece, flash and heal respectively. And yeah, wow, these junglers are just absolutely out for blood. Though, looks like also Yang looking for his patented early game rotation, but he is actually he might have just been caught flat-footed, as 2 members of University of Ottawa are going to be the first of this fight. Consume comes on through. Wheezy up and over the wall, does still have the passive, but now it's White who's the first one to this fight out of the mid lane, maybe looking for the first kill of the game, but now open backpack is here as well. Wheezy going to be dropped incredibly low, but he does still have the cell division. Not even going down just yet. Yang has another consume. This could be it right here, folks. Jokin does go down for that first blood, and the Tom Kench starting to pull its weight up in the top lane. Early game skirmishing doesn't quite go in favor for University of Ottawa this time around. A good shield from Digital Lotus, going to be able to keep them alive for so far, but now they might have actually pushed up too far. Psychonic being dropped incredibly low. Flash away. Orc has to find his way out of there, but now the root down onto Psychonic. It goes so incredibly low. Flash out from already as he picks up the kill himself. Ignite might just be enough, but in the end, that will be a 2-for-1 on the bottom side. Maryland getting the better of that trade, and especially with the only kill coming through so far this match for University of Ottawa, goes on to the support. Digital Lotus certainly be happy to get something back off that fight, but now this is that 1K advantage this early on into the game for the side of Maryland. And now, will they be able to keep this train rolling? That is the question we need to keep our eyes on. Taking a quick look back towards that bottom side fight, it just looked like Psychonics and Digital Lotus were on 2 completely separate pages. Right when the fight started, Digital Lotus tries to put out the shield to allow Psychonics to run forward, but Psychonic doesn't actually push forward in that fight until the very end when the shield's already gone. Alright, he's able to turn around. Jokin, though, needs to be incredibly careful on this top side of the map, as Tom Kench, when that lane is pushed, he is just going to walk you down the entire time. And with Grasp of the Undying on both laners, certainly quite a bit of HP will be stacking up on the top side of the map. And want to see if a jungler does pay any attention to this lane, so we can get that stack rolling pretty darn quickly, because I definitely can see a scenario where Yang gets like 1 more kill ahead, a little bit more CS ahead, and just completely pushes out this gang. Yang has the ultimate, the Abyssal Voyage. He's going to be using it in on the mid lane fight, but bot lane fight goes down as well. Wesley has to jump in over the wall, and that's immediately a kill going on to Psychonic. Yang in the middle of a 2v2, uses the consume, has to pop the black health, and the gray health goes down. And now open backpack trying to fight off 2v1. He's going to pick up the first kill, but is it going to be enough to get the second? Summon area is going to be enough to finish out the back end, and also Digital Lotus goes down, as well as University of Ottawa. They're just falling by the wayside at this point. 2-7 in the early game, and nearly now a 2.5K gold lead. Maryland are going to be very happy with this early game lead that they've been stacking up. And now the nice thing with that rotation from Yang, he used the Abyssal Voyage to get in on the mid lane and then teleports back to the top lane, so he's not actually going to be at any sort of disadvantage. Certainly missed about half a wave of farms worth up there, and going to be collecting quite a bit more under this tower if he actually can at the end of the day. But very good rotational play, and honestly, this has been coming out from Yang each and every game. Game number 1, he was on the Cho'Gath against the Ornn, found the one time he possibly could around the level 2 mark to impact the mid lane, blows a flash, and eventually pays off in the mid lane as well. Now game 2, finds the kill on the mid lane with the early game rotation, puts his own mid laner 2 kills ahead in that lead. I mean, White especially, he's got to be feeling pretty good about how much love he's been receiving from his top laner. And this is definitely not a top lane you'd expect a super hard snowball in the lane, but either way, Wesley now going in for the play, going to use the stretching strikes onto Digital, but Quirk a little bit too short, a little bit too quick, slow on the draw rather. Not going to be able to lock down Digital Lotus for any more time, and every single lane now for Maryland has some sort of tangible advantage, and that is not going to be proving well for the duo scaling compositions, especially when already on the side of Maryland, it's going to be spiking so much sooner. So they're going to be pushing off this dragon. Was he going in? I believe he does still have the passive available if he needs to, but Digital going to be going down first, and now another kill goes down. This is now a 2-9 kill lead. White once again making that first rotation, and this is just a complete outclassing in early game macro play for Maryland, and if they keep this up, there's not much more left that University of Ottawa can do. Stream and Shuffle does still exist, is still available. That's a very interesting interaction there as the stun comes down as Yang consumes open backpack. Jump forward from White, but he doesn't have enough mana available. Abyssal Voyage not quite going to be started, as it looks like the poison take might have actually just saved open backpack's life, and yeah, White's not going to be able to follow up over that wall, but in the end, with the bot lane duo going down so quickly from University of Ottawa, the bot lane tower is certainly going to at least get close to falling down here. You need to keep your eyes on Harry Sixpack, as he has made his way down to the bottom lane as well. Sixpack looking for the engaged Quirk. Despite having the black shield, still gets knocked back by the pillar, but no, that could just be the kill. Shield's going the wrong way, but the subjugate for Harry Sixpack, it's still going to keep him alive. And unfortunately, when you're University of Ottawa right now, you need to find positive plays, not just surviving a negative play. So, very unfortunate despite all the time they put in, and looked like already was about to get his 5th kill of the game, and that would be an absolute heartbreaker, as Ottawa are already looking pretty darn something. They're not looking good right now. It's basically the simplest way you can put this. Yang has the Abyssal Voyage up once more. He's already making some moves down towards the middle side. Question is, has Open Backpack learned his lesson? Looks like going to be not, as now Open Backpack is coming in on the play. Yang not able to find too much more. There is a little bit more disciplined play. It's going to prevent the 10th kill of the game going over in favor for Maryland, but how long-lived is this realistically going to be? Quirk fishing for something here on the bot side, but not going to walk away with anything just yet. Check out this bottom side of the map, though, for Maryland. They have 3 control wards between the mid lane and the dragon. They're just keeping everyone completely locked down. Wheezy unable to find the gank once more, and now, despite such a dominant super early game, the slightly less early game not quite going as well, but this is still a very solid lead amassed from Maryland. About that 3.4k margin, about to be 3.5. Still going to mean a lot of good things for a hard scaling composition. Yang now actually resorting to the proxy farming tactics because he knows there is nobody that can come up here and stop him. Quirk unable to land the binding just yet. Still going to be holding on through that bottom lane. Digital Lotus and Psychonic definitely do need to be playing so much safer. I mean, just look at the straight up gold differential now on the bottom side. Over 1k HP, 1k gold rather. Looks like that was actually a Herald picked up at the 12-minute mark by Wheezy. And this is just showing you how little University of Ottawa can actually get done. And some early game movements now coming out from Wheezy and White. Thought they might have been looking for the 3-man play on the top lane. Pay back Yang for all the love he's been given to the rest of the map this early game. But in the end, unfortunately, we're not going to get that spicy of a play coming out of Maryland just yet. I mean, they do have the advantage, but they're also very happy just holding on to this advantage for now and just keeping the gold lead up until the point where they hit the 2 items they really need to pop off this game. XP Sonic gets locked down in the bottom lane, but is able to buffer the rocket jump correctly, meaning he's still going to be able to get out of this fight pretty reliably. Now Digital Lotus pushing up, trying to get the Rom passive stacks going. Ultimate comes out from already. Gonna keep him alive and unCC'd for now. Quirk able to hit that QSS. Flash on forward. Harry Sixpack is absolutely demolished. Open backpack. Gonna be Shurima shuffled around right with a great way to dodge out of the way of the petrifying gaze. And now this is just a all-man hands-on deck play going in favor for Maryland. They're pushing down on the bot side, but also the mid lane as well. No towers have been taken yet this game, but Maryland are very quickly gonna look to make that one change. Bot tower is certainly without a doubt dead in the bottom side of the map, whereas White getting some chip damage on the mid lane. A good rotation from Yang could be enough to actually knock it over completely. Harry Sixpack is going to be the only one who could even possibly continue, but Maryland, they're not done just yet. Harold gets popped on the ball lane. They're looking for 3 towers off of 1 early play, and they immediately look for the dive onto Psychotic, who gets pulled out with the stretching strikes. Maybe a little bit of an overdive now from Maryland, but either way, they are going to be at least be able to trade 1 kill for 1. The rest of the squad is going to be falling on down. Balling tower does falls already now to fight his way out from a rock and another rock. Root goes down, but unfortunately that's not going to be enough in the end. 3 towers off of 1 play is going to be a huge gold swing for Maryland, but unfortunately, a few very over-aggressive plays does mean that they will be giving something back in the end. Now, as we do calm down off of some great early game movements, remember guys, this is only the 15-minute mark, and already Herald has been successfully used on the bottom side of the map. 3 towers have fallen, and we are in a about 7k gold differential game. University of Ottawa aren't looking too good, and to be completely honest, ask any analyst you want to who covers the collegiate scene, the biggest question mark we had going into these play-ins were are the Peach Belt going to hard choke out, which unfortunately for them, the answer does seem to be yes. But more importantly, how do the Big Ten stack up in comparison to some of these larger tournaments, some of these larger divisions? Because the thing is, Big Ten, there are only 12 teams in those regions, and during the regular season, you only play 6 of them, as opposed to the North, South, East, or West, which each have over 100 teams each, just being a larger pool for just training out, finding exactly how the best of the best play, and getting that time to refine your gameplay, whereas Big Ten kind of isolated on this island where we don't know how they stack up compared to these other regions. And I can say fairly definitively, Maryland are showing very conclusively actually why they are not only the #1 Big Ten team in their region, but also just the #1 team here in this group. Engage still going to be going on as Yang might have been off a little bit too more than he can chew. If he can get into one of these bushes, he could look for the quick ultimate away. He's going, but oh, unfortunately gets stopped up immediately. Does pull away enough attention though, whereas 3 members currently dealing with him up here in the top lane for University of Ottawa. Means that the rest of his squad does get to push out this mid lane, probably pick up the 4th tower of the game, going very aggressively for them. Still pushing out, but bags coming on through. 3.1k to 31.4 rather, 25.2. Still with a little bit more in gold injection now to the side of both Maryland and Ottawa. It's just not looking good if you're an Ottawa fan out there. Not only do you have to fight back from this game already being at such a disadvantage, but even if you magically come back in this matchup, you still have to win game number 3. And University of Ottawa realistically have not shown any self-made aggression. They haven't made a lead on their own. They've only benefited from Maryland actually messing up some of the early game engages, whether it be Wheezy once again, not use the Rift Herald instead of sweeping, getting himself caught out on the top side, whether it be very slow plays coming out from the rest of Maryland off of game number 1 in the bottom lane. There honestly haven't been any Ottawa started rotations, any Ottawa started plays that have gotten them any sort of advantage. And good thing off of this game is that no, a loss from this match doesn't mean you're necessarily out for Ottawa, but it is a huge wake-up call where you now need to walk away with that victory in round number 3 to even get a chance to come back. So certainly fingers crossed if you are a U of O fan right now, but certainly this top lane might not be a U of O fan for too much longer. Digital Lotus trying to put as much as he can out there to protect Iconic and his tower. Ares expects up on this top side, but now it's a 3v3 play We have White coming around the bot side, maybe looking for the streamer shuffle, but does go directly into open backpack. Certainly a little bit of an issue, but does use the shuffle to get himself on out of the way. Fighting split up now is already on the top side. Yokin not able to find a solid engage just yet. Yang now does join the fight as well. White coming around too. His only Digital Lotus has fallen off the backside of this play, and Yang though might be a little bit caught out. Wezzy and Wheezy trying to follow through on the backside, does throw down the smite. Iconic doesn't quite find the kill just yet, doesn't even pop the passive off the back of Wheezy, and now with maybe just a little bit too much blown, question then becomes, is U of O able to actually defend this top lane T2? And it looks like with the low blinking HP bars coming out from Maryland, answer does seem to be yes. Now pushing into this top tower. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is at 18 minutes 58 seconds, this top lane T2 is the only tower University of Ottawa have left outside their base. Yang, you do not have any allies around you. This is now a 1 versus 4. Tom Kench, you ain't getting out of this one, unfortunately. Does get a little bit of response damage back onto open backpack, but fortunately, the 0-4 and 3 Tom Kench cannot one-shot the Cassiopeia. We do still live in a world of logic. Oh, no. Okay. As everything immediately goes wrong in the overlay, we are caught right back up. And Baron buff now up in about 15 seconds. Certainly not out of the question. You do have to keep in mind that if University of Ottawa get any sort of opportunity on this, Tristana plus Cassiopeia should have a very quick Baron clear. But even on the other side, still with Azir plus Xayah as your mid ADC duo, plus the tankiness Wheezy and Yang provide, plus the Mountain Drake on top of all this, it's not out of question that one now aggressive play from Maryland could easily turn into a Baron with very little taken as a response. Binding does land as easy. Look to follow this one up. The answer is yes, but he does actually miss out. Does land a stretching strike, so he's going to actually be able to go in directly on Harry 6-pack, and as he is going to fall, he tries to do something to get himself alive. Quirk now on the front line, using the ultimate to lock down Digital Lotus. Now gets locked down in the middle of the Let's Bounce, pulled right back in, and now those are 2 members down from University of Ottawa, and potentially more importantly, that's the jungler gone and off the map. All eyes are on Baron, as this could be the same situation where Baron here for University of Ottawa is the only thing that could keep him in the game. White completely whiffs on the stream of shuffle, so caught with his pants down, but with no junglers, the steal is going to be impossible. White though, open backpack with a great petrifying gaze, but only going to be able to pick himself up 1 kill. One other kill falls on the backside as well, but he's actually trying to fight his way out of that. Wezzy is going to be the next target. Does pick up the blob, so not going down just yet. Another kill goes over as well for Alrighty, and in the end of the day, it is only a 2-for-2 trade, whereas certainly strikes of brilliance coming out there from University of Ottawa, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough. And now this is a giant lead that Maryland has basically been accustomed to all game long, but this is now a 10k gold lead with the Baron buff at 21 minutes into this match, and with Alrighty hitting his spikes in stride, and White not too far off of his. I can only say this so many times, but it's not looking good for Ottawa. Dragon actually is basically just going to be an afterthought here for Maryland, as there's absolutely nothing Ottawa can do short of basically giving up the game to even contest this Dragon buff. And now it's going to be basically up to Maryland to see where they actually want to apply their newfound pressure. Bot lane only has inhibitor towers, mid lane only has the inhibitor tower, and top lane, the only tower in the game actually outside the base would kind of be your natural thought as to, okay, where exactly are we going to put this Baron Duff lane? And there is still the threat, because University of Ottawa have a team fighting composition, especially with how open backpack executed at the end of that last fight, almost single-handedly turning it back around. There's still the idea that if Maryland mess up and engage hard enough, there's still time for University of Ottawa to get back into this game. So these next few plays, while definitely favoring Maryland, have to be so carefully thought out. If you give away one more thing, that potentially means you can't get anything with this Baron buff, and you can't get too much more with this game. But Maryland very easily going to be able to knock down that first tower, as they are deciding to go for the 4-1 split push idea with Yang still on his own lonesome in the bot lane. Baroned up Cannon Minion, certainly doing so much work. Yang honestly not sure if he's trying to kill Yoken or just distract him away from this Cannon Minion. But now, 2 members on this top side means that the top lane is only being defended by 3 members. White, though, is going to be the first one to this fight, maybe looking for the kill. Yoken has to unstoppable force his way out of that fight. But now the rest of the University Ottawa squad was caught rotating to a fight that no longer exists, and that's going to be top lane inhibitor tower going on down. Stretching strike, let's bounce, doesn't actually get followed through on Wesley. That is a bit of a misplace. You probably could have ended the game off that. Shurima Shuffle lands on the 3 members, except for Psychonic, who's looking for White on the backside, able to jump on around, finds the kill onto Harry Sixpack, looking for the kill as well. But unfortunately now, Open Backpack and Psychonic are so incredibly low, whereas Alrighty is very comfortable walking up through this play. Teleport comes out, Wesley just trying to be the good man he is. Keep Wesley alive through that passive. Dark Binding, it does land, and now Open Backpack might be closed shut here in just a few seconds. Iconic, 1 shot, the rest that exists for Wheezy. But with Baron minions already pouring into the base, Maryland might just look to end right here, right now, with only Alrighty, Yang, and Quirk. Where on the other side, Open Backpack and Psychonic are the only 2 members remaining just yet. But with the respawns coming out of Digital Lotus, they're not going to risk this one for too much longer. Just want to live to fight another day. And with that, once again, especially on the backside with Psychonic, you're seeing the potential for one of these fights going over. All it takes is either White or Alrighty mispositioning rough enough where Open Backpack plus Psychonic can both nuke through this front line. But the issue is, with University of Ottawa's front line being so far behind, Yoken only on 1 full item, Trundle not even on, well, he has a 1 full item, he does have the Cinder Hulk, but nothing more on top of that. There's not enough beef to buy time for Psychonic and Open Backpack to reliably nuke through anyone, whereas both Wheezy and Yang respectively have 3 items to their name, 2.5 if you're looking at Yang. But the potential is still there. The advantage is still hard in favor for Maryland right now, and with 1 tower and 1 inhibitor now already taken, all it takes is 1 more to realistically end out this game. 2 inhibitors down, you basically no longer get to leave the base if you're Ottawa. Engage could be coming out over the wall, but that would be very aggressive coming out of Wheezy. Don't expect that one to actually come to fruition. But now in the bot lane, the tower's already under half HP. Yang's out there in the back line. Open Back doing the best he can. Wheezy now jumping in. Rocket jump away from Psychonic. To be good enough to keep him alive for now, but that's a tower gone almost immediately. Now they're looking for the inhibitor. Second inhibitor of the game will be absolutely crucial. And with too many blinking HP bars out of Ottawa, especially the bot lane duo, there's just not too much left that they can actually execute on here. And now, only inhibitor left in the match for Ottawa is going to be in this mid lane. And my money's on Maryland running this one right down mid, as they so often have done in the past. Or maybe just a little bit of a Fnatic push here, as they do have the vision advantage. Already going on to Yoken. Does still have the unstoppable force if he wants to either engage or disengage, but we're at the point where even 1 blown ultimate for Ottawa means that there's no possible chance that they can come back and win these fights. It's going to be, with no Baron buff, these waves are going to be incredibly hard to remain alive for the Maryland squad. Thankfully, though, with the pushing top lane, the pushing bottom lane, both lanes having super minions coming on out for them, it's not going to be too much longer. And even if that doesn't work, Baron buff up in 44 seconds. There are so many potential answers for this lack of a pushing in that Maryland currently have, and with the shoving advantage they have with Azir, I don't see this mid lane tower staying up for too much longer. But that being said, Ottawa, they're still hanging on. It may be by the smallest of threads, it may be by the most unlikely of situations, but this game is not quite over just yet. They're still looking for that scaling to come on through. Additional tower being spawned now. by White on the backside. Wesley's on the back line as well. It does find the stretching strike. Let's bounce with 2 members onto the front line. Backpack not taken out just yet, but that's a kill going down. Shurima shuffle for 3 members, but Psychotic has not been taken out just yet. And he's going to be jumping down the back line. He finds 1. He finds 2. They're not done just yet, Ottawa. They're able to stay alive through that fight in absolutely crucial time. This could just be the ace. And it is Ottawa. They refuse to die just yet, and that's still going to be a Baron buff on the board. But check out this base too. That might actually just be the last Nexus Towers. No, Jokin's actually going to be able to come in, play the hero of this story for now, and Ottawa, they might have just bought themselves a new lease on life in this match. They aren't out just yet. With a Baron buff in hand, University of Ottawa has to know that this is their time to shine. 3 items completed for Psychotic. Open backpack now with the Death Cap, with the Leandre's Torment, and probably looking towards the Void Staff as well. Things are looking up, and they need to be careful because 1 lost fight now is the end of the game. No questions about it. They need every single one of these fights to go perfectly their way. Best thing for them is that over these next few minutes, you will start to get champions onto their last item. Most people somewhere between 4 and 5 items right now, so definitely give that about 5 to 6 more minutes. So the duration of about 2 Baron buffs here, so 1 Baron buff plus a little bit more, should it be enough to realistically get closer towards the point at which this gold disadvantage doesn't matter anymore. And even better, top lane inhibitor has come back up, which means you not only have to deal with 1 wave's worth of shoving minions, and even best part of the game, there are no banner minions anywhere on this team for Maryland, in the game actually, but Maryland, if they have a banner minion here, they could easily throw it down in topside, move into the bot laner, use that split pressure they don't have already lacking the split pusher, but University of Ottawa still looking pretty aggressively. As much adrenaline as that last fight has given me, or any University of Ottawa fan or player, just yet you need to keep in mind that University of Ottawa basically need to play these fights perfectly. Ultimate, though, going to be used to bring the Abyssal Voyage, and looks like alrighty. Back up to the mid lane. Ottawa doing a pretty solid job keeping the rest of their base alive for the time being. No more real big objectives going out. Next one would have to be this Elder Dragon, probably spawning around the 35 to 36 minute mark. Definitely could be the late game win condition. Actually, for either team, if University of Ottawa are going to be able to hold on for that long, they might just get to a point where 1 kill is enough, or 1-1 team fight is enough to either get the base or at least get an inhibitor. So, still, the scaling out is going to be the way you win this game out from Ottawa. But now, Psychotic going onto the back line. Already he's got nowhere to go. He does have flash, but isn't going to be pursued too much longer, as University of Ottawa knows that while they have the advantage on that play, they cannot afford to give up anything. That being said, Weezy, though, looking in on the backside of that fight. 2-man shotgun. The 3-man Let's Bounce finds absolutely everyone, but right now, White's not able to get on this fight. Shurima shuffle onto the dead but resurrecting ADC right now. Psychotic still cutting away on the backside. TP is up, but Psychotic's gonna be dead to the tower, and that means it is only a few more members. Open backpack still fighting valiantly on the backside. Gonna be able to find out Wheezy. But thankfully, it's still 3 members alive for University of Ottawa, so game might not be over just yet. I might have spoken too soon. Only 2 members available, but the Abyssal Voyage means that alrighty and Yang, they're going to be into the base. There's only 1 tower here. If the back does not come through, it's not going to come through. This could be the end of the game for Maryland. Harry Sixpack is the only one who can keep this game alive, but no, the base, the kill goes over. There's nobody left to defend it now. Maryland will be making their way, if not to the finals, at least to the top of this group in a very exciting, maybe not as definitive, end of game number 2. Whew! Quite an exciting end to that game. Ottawa, unfortunately, playing the classic CLG strat of give the fans hope and then rip it back away. Maryland, well fought out and certainly showing why the Big Ten deserve their own spot at the national championships. We've still got a great rest of the game, a great rest of the day, rather. Still, I believe, 2 more matches coming up. I know I'll be joining Fekes on the cast here in just under 15 minutes, so make sure you guys stick around, go over to C-Star League, catch the rest of the action for the day. But until then, I've still been returned. Thank you guys for catching us out, and make sure you follow us on our social media, everything there. And of course, stay tuned.